My trajectory is really about opportunity and exposure.
What do you feel are the biggest barriers facing Black talent who want to move up to the highest levels of their organizations, and how does this differ across roles and departments?
There is oftentimes a lack of access. There's a lack of mentorship and sponsorship opportunities. And what we know for women and people of color, is oftentimes they're given a chance versus an opportunity, which is two different things.
Sponsorship, right? So really having advocates or allies in positions that recognize talent, not just from a optical perspective, but in a deep relational perspective, and really be able to champion people like myself to have an opportunity to stretch and grow and to be in positions of influence.
Where do you feel like the industry has made real progress on elevating Black talent, and where are you most disappointed to see a lack of progress?
There has been a lot of concerted energy and focus since 2020, and I appreciate the sort of the catalyst, the awareness, a lot of the education and commitments that have come from that point in time. But I think in that same breath, that's where some of the disappointment comes from. I always say one of the toughest things about doing this work in this industry is navigating around a campaign mindset. Particularly in our industry, we have a tendency to move on to the next thing.
One of the things I think the industry has not done a really good job at is making space for unique perspective and making space for conversation led by champions and voices that see the world very differently.
We often hear from diverse leaders that they're frustrated to be the only ones pushing the cause forward and feel that improving diversity should be everybody's job.
Yeah.
How do you balance being a role model and pushing the conversation while also protecting yourself from unfair burdens?
And it's a topic that I live out every day. Just like my counterparts, just like my colleagues who are in many ways the only ones in their position, we, in some ways, find community with each other to try to support one another and be thought partners and be endurers of struggle together. So how do I really stay mentally fortified and connected to my purpose while supporting others who might be struggling as well? That is kind of my ethos, and that's how I deal with and process things. I get really inward and I internalize and I draw strength from the ancestor.
I signed up for this. This is my craft. I'm a DE&I practitioner. I feel like what happens sometimes for individuals, maybe they're a CMO, because of their identity and their assumed lived experience, they're tapped to also be the CMO, but specifically be the Black CMO. And hey, can you also help us with our diversity efforts? And then unfairly, that person's sort of competency and performance is also based on something that they weren't necessarily an expert at. Representation is important, having the person in the room, but how does that play out? Is it an equitable situation for that individual in the room?
What's one thing you wish business leaders, particularly in agencies and in the marketing industry, would understand when it comes to nurturing and supporting Black talent?
It takes time. It takes time to develop genuine relationships, to see each other from a point of equity, not just from just including the voice in the room for a temporary moment. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes mistakes and learning from how we can grow and be better.
Representation is critical, but it can't be our only measure of our accountability. I think the aspirations of it are important, but again, you can't fall into that sort of the goal of increasing Black talent by 25% is going to be the answer that's going to solve all of the things.
Mentorship is so important. It comes up all the time. What can companies do better about facilitating those types of relationships? And what are some of the barriers there?
There are individuals who hesitate out of the best intent that they want to get it right, but they will come to the conversation with, I'm not sure how to mentor Black talent. It's like, well, how would you mentor anyone? Mm-hmm. And don't put yourself out there and have the conversation and put yourself into the position to have that relationship. It might not happen for that individual at all.
So teaching folks how to be an ally, how to be sensitive to cultural issues, but also be a participant in helping to have important conversations, champion important voices.
What is, in your opinion, the most urgent issue affecting Black talent right now that you feel like should be addressed?
When you're coming to the table with already the notion and understanding that you have to work twice as hard to be half as good, it also can be difficult for you to put up healthy boundaries. There's a lot of organizational talk about mental health and wellness. I think we need to go a few clicks deeper in the industry and have some of that be identity based. I just want to be able to make sure we're having this conversation in continuity even outside the month of February.